guys, welcome back to Our Non-Toxic Podcast. I'm Hannah and I am back for episode 75, which is so crazy. I know it sounds like we're getting close to 100, but if I really think about it, if I record one episode a week, that's still 25 weeks away. So we're not really getting that close. It's still half of a year, but it's getting my little gears turning inside my tiny little pea brain. So I've been thinking about doing another party or whatever is coming down the road, but also if we don't do a party, maybe just some merch. So let me know what you guys think about merch. I've had a lot of messages asking about it, but at the same time, I just always get in my head and think like, who's going to buy merch from my podcast? And here I am with merch from everything that I love. I just got merch from Cash Money Morgan's podcast last night. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what I would say on them. I know we talk about a lot of stuff, we being me lately on the podcast, but I guess we could do like Treat Yourself Friday. We could do a bunch of fun things, but I always get in my head and think like, well, nobody's going to listen or watch that. No one's going to want to consume that or wear that or purchase it. But if you guys have like brilliant ideas for podcast merch, or if you want to see it, or if you very passionately just don't want to see it, then let me know any of those things. Your feedback is greatly valued and appreciated. I have lots of notes today. What else is new? So that was the first thing, was just episode 75. Wow, that's insane. Thank you for all of you who have been here the whole time. If you haven't been, then I would be curious to know when you tuned in. When did you start listening? What was the episode that made you finally say, okay, fine, I'll bite. What's this podcast thing about? Let me know. Next, the office next door to this, in this office building, there's a podcast recording studio, and then there's other spaces for other businesses to do their things. And they were listening to the Tortured Poets Department, which is Taylor Swift's new album. And I walked in and they were like blasting it to the point that I could hear it through the walls. Luckily, the walls here are soundproof, which is great for, recording things. But I just love that. And to my knowledge, it is all men that work there. So even better. But I just made a note of that because I thought it was important to note. You shouldn't be able to hear anything. I can't hear it now because the door is closed, but I really thought that was fantastic. Next. I lost my 2 toenails again. This is really unfortunate because I have been on this journey with my toenails since I started running seriously last October, November. And first, my 2 toenails on my pointer toes, like the little index ones right next to my big toe, which are just like the tiniest bit longer than my big toe, they turned black whenever I started running longer than like 5 miles regularly, which to me is a couple times a week, like 3 times a week. Whenever I started doing that, my toenails turned black, and eventually they like got to the point that they were like loose and I had to clip them off, and that was really gross. Sorry. This is probably TMI, but also this is my podcast. So this is what you signed up for. Then they finally grew back. I had a pedicure. Everything was looking great. And I had sized up a half size on my shoes because some people said whatever your shoe size is, sometimes your running shoes should be a little bit bigger just because your feet kind of scoot to the front of them and you don't want as much friction. So I had half sized up. They didn't turn black. And then now I've been upping my distance again. So I've been running a little bit longer than that. And they just turned black like 3 weeks ago. And then this week they fell off. So I am back down to 8 toenails, and at least they're symmetrical, I suppose. There's one missing from each toe, but it's sad now because it's open-toed shoe season. And at least the last time it happened, it was winter. I know these are like the epitome of first world issues, but it still is very sad for me. As somebody who prefers not to have disgusting and really unsightly feet. So if you see me with sneakers on all summer long, that would be why. Speaking of running, I do want to just point out, because a lot of people will say like, oh my gosh, I want to get into running. I'm just not a runner. I am also far from a runner. I ran track like for 2 years, as does everybody, but I was never a distance runner. I never did cross country because I hate distance running. It makes me feel awful. I still have some level of PTSD from whenever we had to run the mile in elementary school, and I just hated it. I always felt like I was dying. It wasn't for me. I've gone through different phases where I have loved running, but I never ran more than 3 miles, and I still kind of only liked the feeling afterwards, which is valid, but I want to note that my running journey has been so not linear, and I'm going to get more into that later because this is obviously a health and fitness episode. But I ran last week. I had a PR of like 8 miles, not like it was 8 miles. And I have never run that far in my life. My previous longest run was 7 miles, and that was last fall whenever I was like at the peak of my training back then. Not really for anything, but just training. And I did that a couple Sundays ago, and then went on vacation. But before I went on vacation, a couple days later, not a couple days, it was probably a week. So I had taken some time off, done the recovery thing. Then I went out to do one more long run before I went on my trip. and it sucked. I seriously could not. I ran 3 miles, had to stop, take a break. Then I ran a couple more miles, had to stop, take a break. And then I had to run 1 more mile, and then I walked home. Like it was, I think I had a total of 6 miles that day, but it was awful. Like I have not had to stop and walk in a long time. And it just shows you that running is very humbling. It's not an ego stroke. It's not fun all the time. It's really not fun that much of the time. But no matter how much I progress, and even like my highest PR where I'm feeling so great on top of the world, I also just have these awful runs where I feel like I have never moved my legs before. It completely feels like I'm running on manual mode where I'm like having to concentrate on every movement of my body. My feet are not working. I feel like a newborn baby deer, like Bambi. I just don't know what to do. Like my breathing isn't good. I have to talk myself through it. The music isn't like getting in the zone. And there's other kinds of runs, like whenever I got my 8 miler in, and fortunately, the majority of them tend to be better. But once you get over that initial hump of getting warmed up, like the first couple miles, then it starts to flow. You're in autopilot, like you're hitting your strides. Everything feels great. You feel so natural, and the music will kind of take over. My brain will go off into some place of like sorting through all these thoughts that I haven't had time to think through in my normal day to day, and everything is good. But then there are other times where it just feels horrific, and I want to stop immediately, and I question every choice I've ever made that had led me to that point where I'm running. So just some encouragement for you. It actually does not get easier, so you're not that far behind after all. Hope that helps. This week has been a little crazy, un poco loco. We got back from vacation, which I guess I could backtrack and do that, but no one really cares about vacation. That's the thing. I never really recap my trips because who wants to get on to a podcast and listen to me talk about my vacation? No one. You can see my Instagram and there's way too much coverage of it. We went to Scottsdale for a week just for a couples trip, just for funsies. And I also have been it's been brought to my attention that when I say couples trip, people think I mean other couples. I just mean Austin and I. But I don't think there's really a term for that because people keep asking like, oh, well, who are you going with? And I said, oh, it's just a couples trip. But everyone has been thinking that means like multiple couples. But should I just say it's a couple trip? Like couple singular, like just the two of us? I don't know. So it was just the two of us. It was just a BFF, a roomie trip, if you will. And we went to this resort. It was so stunning. It was so private. It was like one of those places that you look around, you're like, where is everybody? And I think it's because, to my understanding, this is right before Scottsdale's off season because it's about to get super, super hot. But we got there like just at the perfect time where it's not scalding. It's like 90-ish degrees, but it's not 110 degrees yet. So it was a little bit slower for the resort, but it was just so pretty. We really didn't do a whole lot. It was a lot of relaxing, a lot of unplugging, and laying outside, lizard behavior, which is my favorite kind of behavior on a trip, just finding the nearest like place to sun yourself and just laying there all day. That's the best. So we had the trip. It was amazing. We had so much good food, and it was the first trip in a long time that I have just not wanted to come home from. Most of the time I go on a trip, and by the last day I start to like romanticize my life, and I'm ready to come back home, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a routine and to get my laundry done and get back to the gym and see my family, my friends, and everything. And this time nothing has really changed about life. Like I still love life, but I was just not wanting to come home. It was so peaceful and so quiet, and just like nothing was like disturbing me whenever I was out there. So I had a hard time making myself pumped to come back home. But now we're back and I'm acclimating, and it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And that's good. So we had a great time, came back. We had luckily the weekend to kind of recoup and get everything back in order. So we kind of lied low. We lay low. We didn't do anything this weekend. So it let me get all my laundry done. I'm a like unpacker the first day. So we had flown into Bentonville on Thursday. Then we drove home Friday morning just so we could have like one extra day to not like rush everything. And we also sometimes don't have the best luck with flights. So we want to give ourselves an extra day just in case. And came home, did a laundry, ran on that Friday when we drove back in, and I ran 6 miles. It felt like a breeze. It felt so easy. It was definitely one of those like autopilot where everything was just flowing. I was so happy. The weather was great. And I was not optimistic because I had just been eating like, I don't know, 8,000 calories a day for 5 days and hadn't run all week. But maybe it was just like the rest, or maybe it was me just being eager to run, or maybe it was just like, I don't know, the way the clouds and stars and everything had aligned, because sometimes it feels like there's no rhyme or reason to why these things happen. So I had a great run, great weekend, very chill. And then this week is crazy because I have 3 events. There was an event last night, an event tomorrow night, and an event Saturday night. And I might have a work dinner on Friday, but I haven't quite heard confirmation yet. So everything is just very chaotic at the moment, professionally And that's great. But it's just one of those that you feel like your social battery kind of gets strained because socializing for social purposes is different than socializing for professional purposes. And I feel like I'm pretty consistent across the board, but it's just a little bit less fulfilling and a little bit more buttoned up whenever it's professional because you're not really having those deep, meaningful conversations. It's more of like the networky small talk, which is not my most favorite kind, but it's still a good time and I love to dress up. So we're kind of bouncing around. The good news is I don't have to buy groceries this week. So we're super busy on that front. And, a win is a win. Next, tax season. I have a lot of words to say, but none of them are appropriate and they're all profane. If you're a small business owner or self-employed, or you just have to pay a lot in taxes, then you understand. But this is just something that I never quite get over is how difficult it is as a small business owner and as like a young couple trying to save money and trying to get ahead, how difficult it is to break that barrier because the more you earn, obviously the heavier you're taxed. And then the heavier you're taxed, the less money you save because you pay in taxes. So to get over that hump where you can finally out invest or out earn your tax bill is just so challenging. And I'm not going to get into all of that heavily because I'm not an expert. Although I feel like an expert in paying things and paying bills, but that was just me complaining. And I know that sometimes small business ownership or self-employment can seem like just the holliest, jolliest dream over here. Maybe it doesn't. Sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes it's great. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, this is why everyone doesn't do it because it's stressful and expensive and that is not fun. But I will say going on vacation, like planning a vacation to time it right after tax season, like we wrote our checks and then we went on vacation. That was good. I would rather cry and be sad in Scottsdale than here. So that maybe will be a recurring thing that we do. Next. Okay, I do want to point out my sweatshirt. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see right here. You probably have been wondering why this has been on the screen for 12 minutes. This is my newest sweatshirt from my favorite fan shop online. It's called Ember Cases, EMBER Cases, like phone cases. And I'm so susceptible to everything she posts. She will always post like flash sale for the next 3 hours. I'm like, okay, package is in the mail. So this is going to be a reference to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. If you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, that's really all I have to say, but it's really cute. And I got hot before I came here because I had a meeting and we sat outside, and wearing a sweatshirt in the direct sunlight did make me a little bit elevated as far as body temperature goes. So I took it off, but I really wanted to show you. So I did put it in the back just for references. Also, you might see my shirt. It says written by Lana Del Rey. So thank you for noticing that. I am a big fan of graphics and fun things. This outfit might seem really ugly while I'm sitting down, but I'm hoping to get a really cute Instagram photo later, and I will prove to you that it is actually a cute outfit. So for now, just take my word for it. Trust me. By the time you see this, tomorrow, perhaps. Yeah, actually, I probably won't have the photo up by then because I'm pretty delayed on my posts. Anywho, next. I do have an announcement, which makes me kind of sad. I am no longer doing the book podcast. I know that some of you probably saw this coming because a few people had messaged me saying like, what else are you going to add? This seems like a lot. You are doing a lot of things. And that is true. And it's not a reflection of my co-host or anything else except for me just being too spread thin. And I think it's multifaceted. Part of it is that I have been a yes man my entire life and I want to say yes to so many things. It's like half of a people pleasing tendency and half of it is because I genuinely love to do things and I love to be a part of more projects and more things. So I say yes, and then sometimes I forget that I don't have the time to back it up. And one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that the more you spread yourself thin, the less you're giving to each thing. Like obviously you can't give as much of yourself to any one thing if you're doing 1,000 things versus if you're just doing like the 10 most important things. That's common sense. But I really wanted to give it a shot. And I just found myself being more overwhelmed than fulfilled. And reading was starting to feel like a chore. Like I had to do it to get my homework done, to have something to talk about and to get notes. And then I would start to read and then be down on myself like, oh, I haven't written any notes. I have nothing to talk about or to say. And book TikToks that I had previously loved consuming were starting to feel like, again, research or like, well, they're more eloquent when they're discussing this than I am. And it was just taking the fun out of something that I have been using as an escape for so long. And that's kind of where I had to be real with myself and think like I've added too many things to my plate. And as sad as that is, because I really hate to back out of anything that I've committed to, then I think it's best to do it early and just pass the baton to my co-host and let her take it and run with it. And she will do an amazing job. And I'm bummed, but I also know that was the best decision for me. So I'm very sorry if any of you were super looking forward to my presence on that, but it still exists. So by all means, go on over and support it. But it's just a move that I'm trying to make in many aspects of my life. I think I'm also going to roll off of a couple boards and committees that I've been serving on, just because, especially in the fundraising world, it's really difficult to serve on many committees for many causes because there's only so many people that you can ask for so much money before it gets really old. And I become less useful. Like if I'm serving on a committee for Breast Cancer Foundation, and then for American Cancer Society, and then for the zoo, and then for American Heart Association, and for everything else, like then at some point I become somebody who's just pandering for money, or I've tapped out on all my sources and I'm either giving less money to each cause because I only can ask, again, so many people for so much money, or I'm only giving money to one cause and the rest of them, what am I really even doing there? So I'm going to have to be more selective about what I'm giving my time to, because again, I'm just taking up space if I'm not able to really effectively fundraise. So all in an effort to simplify my life and say no to more things, but in a healthy way. And I also think that while I was, kind of going through a hard time and grieving and just really trying to process my own emotions, then filling my life with more things was a way that I did that. And maybe that's avoidant. Actually, I know it is, but I think that was a way that I was coping. And that's not the healthiest thing. But now that I've processed more of my emotions and I've had some time to heal, then I don't necessarily need to fill every waking second to avoid having any kind of deep or meaningful thought. So that's me being real with myself, also trying to set better boundaries so I'm not operating on a burnout level all the time. And I saw this quote that really spoke to me, and it said something like, just because you have free space on your calendar, it doesn't mean you have the mental or emotional capacity to show up for something. And I was like, and I saved it and I screenshotted it and I sent it to my mom and everything that, indicates that something has made an impact on me. But it's true. And that's the goal, is to create not only more space on my calendar, but to give myself more of that mental and emotional capacity again. And I know it's so obnoxious because I hate hearing how busy everyone is. No one likes to hear that because we all are busy. I know that we are all so busy. Everyone has a million things going on. I'm not any busier than the next person. Maybe if they're better at setting boundaries, then I am busier than them. But for the most part, like I'm not special. I'm not trying to say like, oh, guys, I'm so busy. I'm so important. I have so many things going on. Like you just wouldn't get it. That's not at all what I mean. I just know that for my personal comfortability in my schedule, I have overcommitted myself consistently to the point that I always feel like I'm letting someone down. And I never feel ahead. I never feel like I'm 100% on top of things or fully recharged. And I was reflecting on that a lot while I was on vacation, doing literally nothing. And just thinking about, like, I haven't felt this way in so long, where I feel like I'm actually caught up. I'm ahead. I have the ability to do things last minute because I have the free time, but I also don't have to because I have free time and I want to enjoy it, and so on. So that's my goal for the foreseeable future, is to just say no to more things and understand that just because I'm doing less doesn't mean I am less, or because people like me less. It's just sometimes you don't put yourself out there. And I don't know what it is. I just tend to have this ability to get myself into things. Like even last night I was at an event, a nonprofit event, and I was socializing and hanging out and just chit chatting. And I left with an invite to a garden party, and I'm so excited for the garden party. It's in 3 weeks, but it's just like that. Every time I feel like I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to slow it down. Then I end up being like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll be there. I don't know why it comes out. It's like an instinct. It's not just like, oh cool, like I'll check my calendar. It's, yeah, for sure, I can't wait to go. I don't know why I always do that, but it's starting to get to a point that I need to have like shock therapy. I need a lobotomy. I need one of those, like, where they pry open your eyes and hold them there with those little brackets, and then to have like those flashing videos across from me on some kind of a projector screen so that I can be finally caught up on not saying yes to everything. So if anyone is able to like brainwash or hypnotize me, send me a DM. I would be interested in talking with you further. Next. That's it. Okay, we're on to the topic. We're going to go ahead and do a quick report first, because I fear that if I wait till the end, you guys will all stop listening, and I want to talk about things that I like. First, I'm rereading A Court of Wings and Ruin. I just reread A Court of Mist and Fury. That's the second book in the ACOTAR series. Now I'm rereading the third one, and I'm not going to go super deep into it, but it's just so comforting. Like once you read a book first and you love it, then you get to reread it and you already like the characters. It almost feels like catching up with friends, which is kind of nerdy to say, but I don't really care, but it's very good. I do want to read the Throne of Glass series next, but this was just me taking a little breather, having some comfort, going back to Valaris with my favorite winged folks. And yeah, I'll let you guys know whenever I move on. But for now, that's what we're rereading. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to reread the whole series because A Court of Silver Flames is my favorite. Next, eating. I haven't really been eating anything crazy. I have been cutting back on candy, which I know is like a fundamental pillar of who I am as a person, but I've been trying to cut back on sugar, and only because I was eating so much sugar all the time. And I'm just trying, no, I'm not cutting it out. I'm just cutting back, which is still probably leaving me above the average amount consumed per day for people. But I have been eating string cheese a lot. It's something I feel like I forget as a grown up that you can just eat string cheese. So I've been buying that and eating it. I don't eat it the stringy way. Like I don't peel it. I just eat it like a stick. So maybe that's blasphemous to some of you, but it's just more efficient. Why would I want it all over my nails? That's not appealing. Also, we bought one of those salmon from Sam's Club, and we've been eating that for about 3 days because when you buy salmon from there, they give you like 20 pounds of fish. I think that's whenever Jesus Christ himself was talking about the loaves and the fishes. He probably got his fishes from Sam's Club. Next, playing. I did listen to the Tortured Poets Department all the way through, as one does, and people were asking if I stayed up until midnight to listen to it. No one asked me that. My mom asked me that. I did not. I just am up. I don't stay up till midnight for anything. I just am always up until midnight. So no, I didn't like purposely stay up with that intent, but I happened to be on my phone way past midnight and I listened to all of it. So very good. My favorite songs are The Prophecy, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, Fortnite. Those are my favorites, but I really like a lot of them. Clairbeau, great. There's so many good ones. But next. Oh, also playing. I love Spotify so much. Spotify has one of the best algorithms I think I've ever experienced. And I don't like to branch out when listening to new music. I like to listen to the exact same things over and over. And again, same books, same movies. I don't like to branch out. If I find new music, it's always by accident. It's like in a movie soundtrack. It's by what's playing in a restaurant whenever I'm there, or if a friend shows it to me, like it's by accident. And honestly, sometimes if someone sends me a song and is like, oh my gosh, I think you would like this. Sometimes I don't listen. Sometimes I just don't want to listen. And that's like one of my personality flaws. One, add it to the very long list. But I sometimes just don't because I don't want to know. However, Spotify has the most amazingly curated algorithm to where it knows exactly what I will like based on, of course, my listening history, what else. And if you go to your Spotify search bar and type in mix and then search it, it gives you every single mix that they offer. And there are some crazy ones. There's like pirate, rock, radio, lovecore, cottagecore, emo punk, country, emo goth. Like there's so many playlists, and I don't know if everyone has the same ones or if they're different, but they're tailored to your listening taste. So like my cottagecore mix would be different than your cottagecore mix, but if you search it, there are so many of them, and they're like cyberpunk. I don't know. It cracks me up, but I've been listening to a lot of the Spotify mixes lately, and I've been either rediscovering old songs that I've forgotten about, or I've been finding new songs that now I love, and I'm thankful to Spotify for reigniting my love for and or turning me on to. So search your mixes and let me know what you find. Obsessing. I actually don't really have an obsession right now, and that's kind of sad. I was just thinking about how last year I was just getting into like a really, really hyper fixated state with Marvel, more so than usual, and Bucky Barnes, who's a character. And I can't explain this to you if you don't have an obsessive personality, but whenever you have a new obsession that hits you, you full on go manic. Like you have more energy. I assume it has something to do with like your brain chemistry, like the dopamine that you've been getting, but I will stay up twice as late as usual, which is pretty close to 24 hours. It's not good. And you will be consuming all kinds of media. You're so happy. It's just the weirdest, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go home and like watch this movie again. It's not healthy. But I haven't had that in a while because I had that obsession like at that peak for months, and then it dwindled, and it's been like dwindling to a healthy level since, I don't know, November, December-ish. So now it's like, it is in a healthy range. It's not crazy. I still like very much enjoy the exact same movies and the same characters. However, it's not at that point where it's like literally fueling me like a rocket. And I think I'm ready for a new obsession. And I don't know who I report that to up in the universe, but I'm like open and willing to receive one. You can't really tell when they're going to hit you or how frequently they will come. So I'll let you guys know, but I'm not really obsessing over anything, which is wild. Recommending. I recommend that everyone buys a hammock. They are like 20 to 30 bucks on Amazon or at Academy. You can hammock anywhere you have two trees relatively close to each other. It's so easy and quick to set up. And every second that I have, even like if I have a 15-minute break between things, I'll go outside and sit in my hammock and just like bask in the sun. It's so nice. And I even bear the frustration of trying to work outside because you know the whole thing with your laptop, there's a glare, it's an issue. Your laptop overheats, you can't see anything. It's very frustrating. It's worth it. It's better than being inside. So I recommend that everyone invests in a hammock and uses that. It is also like one of the best naps that you can ever take because you have the gentle breeze, sun's on you, you're swaying lightly. It's just amazing. Every little activity that I do in the hammock, whether it's scrolling, reading, listening to music, it's just better outside. Okay, next. Treating myself. I am currently treating myself to the Moon Pie Latte from Urban Grounds. Urban Grounds, I love you. I've always loved you and I always will. They have a Moon Pie Latte. It's like a mocha with marshmallow cold foam. And they make this special graham cracker milk. It's like cinnamon steeped milk. It's amazing. I like it hot or iced, but most recently I've been having it just hot and it's incredible. So I recommend that for your next Treat Yourself Friday and or any day of the week. That concludes everything I had to say before the topic. 26 minutes. Also, I got a water from Come and Go because I have my cup, but I forgot to fill it up this morning because I had coffee at 7 a.m. So I was like running out of the house and didn't fill up my cup. So I had an empty cup with me and I went and paid 78 cents for this at Come and Go because hydration is important. So, sorry if you heard that. Today's topic, health and fitness. I am not a fitness influencer. I'm not a trainer. I am really not that educated in anything fitness beyond just like my own experience. So take all of this with a complete grain of salt. I know what has worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. I'm going to give you only my healthiest advice. I've obviously gone through phases where I have been more effective at losing weight, but I have been very unhealthy in doing so. So I'm not going to give you those tips because I'm not here to enable anyone's eating disorder. But I will give you all my fitness tips that are currently working for me, that have worked for me in the past, and explain them a little bit because I feel like I've been doing too many serious episodes in a row. The past several episodes, even the ones with guests, have been heavier. They've been about anxiety or about like what I've been going through, which is heavier. And I feel like every episode I come on, I'm like, I have this whole epiphany about life and here's what I'm working on, here's what I'm doing. And I love those and I feel like they resonate with people, but I also want to have some that are just lighter and fun because if I were someone who listens to a podcast, which I am, and every single week it was so heavy, I'd be like, girl, just give me something to listen to on the way to work. I just want to relax. I have to work all day and be serious. Just give me something. So this is me giving you something. I'm going to try and mix back in lighter episodes. And from the poll that everyone participated in, a lot of the topics were kind of fun and girly in combination with more serious things. So we should have a good balance. And also we will have a guest next week. I know I've been trying to alternate, but with my trip, it was just easier to do solo episodes. And then next week, we'll be back in the swing of things with a guest. So stay tuned. All right, fitness tips. First of all, this sounds redundant and obvious, but you have to find a workout that you actually enjoy. And I know a lot of people are just not workout people. And I would argue that you just have not found the right workout yet. And a lot of us tend to think that fitness is going to the gym, lifting weights, running, which is the case for some people. I enjoy those things, but that's not the only kind of fitness there is. There are so many different kinds, even just going on walks, doing yoga outside, working out at home. There's dance fitness, there's hot fitness. Like there's so many things that you could do that are good for you. Even swimming. Like I forget that you can go lap swimming and that's a great workout. I did do some lap swimming on vacation because they had a pool and I got smoked. I did like 6 laps. My heart rate was through the roof. I was in zone 10. That's not even a real zone. I was like verging on cardiac arrest. It was bad, but I forgot how good of a workout it is. So get out into a pool, tread some water, do some backflips, play some mermaids. But all that to say, if you don't enjoy your workout, you're never going to want to do it. You're always going to dread it. You're always going to think that it's not important enough to fit into your day versus whenever I love a workout, I genuinely will make time for it. I look forward to it. I can't wait to get to the gym or to get to the track. And then it makes me less likely to skip it because I actually want to do it. So I would try different things out. There's so many YouTube videos online. There's people you can follow. I've taken dance fitness classes before, and yeah, you feel a little silly when you're doing it, but you're in a class with other people who are also doing it. So it's not like you're doing a dance class and everyone's watching you look silly. Like everyone is doing it and trying to focus on their own stuff. So I've actually really enjoyed dance fitness before. Yoga is good. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to be that good at yoga to do it, especially hot yoga. Like your flexibility will just naturally increase with the heat, but it's just a great workout. So if you were interested, then don't feel like, well, I've never done yoga before. That's totally okay. Everyone can go. Currently loving spin class. I've been doing so many spin classes at Sit and Spin Studio, SAS. It's like the most fun, no pressure, girly studio. And if you're looking for a workout that's more like, let's get it going, come on, it's probably not the one for you. I'm not gonna lie, but it's encouraging. It's so fun. The instructor that I see every Monday and Wednesday is Izzy, and she just teaches those classes that happen to work best for my schedule, but she's also amazing. And everything is like the playlists are great. It's fun. And it's not the kind like they'll encourage you and cue you to get up, get down, put more gear on, take it off. But there's no one that's going to yell at you if you're not doing that. If you need to take a seat or you need to like take some stuff off, no one's going to be on you. If you don't want to turn your monitor on and track your stats, you just want to go for the workout, also fine. There's no leaderboard. So I can't say enough good things about that studio. I know they do like a $10 drop in on Wednesdays. I think the first Tuesday of every month is Taylor Swift ride, and their memberships are very, very affordable. So check them out if you so desire. And if you ever want to go with me, I go on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:45 almost every week. So if you are a crazed stalker, no, I don't. If you are one of the girls, yes, I do. So those are fantastic. And it also is great to have a combination of workouts for me where I get to turn my brain off and just check out, because whenever I'm running, then I do think about things, especially if I'm running on the street, like you're thinking about which route to go and, looking out for cars. But running, I can zone out kind of middle of the road where, I mean, not literally, but middle ground where I zone out of the workout, but I get to think about life and kind of sort through my feelings and thoughts and process the day. But in the gym, I'm pretty zoned into what I'm doing because I'm counting or I'm thinking about the next workout, or you're looking at people around you and trying to pay attention to like if someone's asking you if you're using a set of dumbbells or equipment. So I'm just more mentally present when I'm lifting. Running is so. And then spin, I'm checked out. Like I am just so zoned out. I'm not thinking about anything. They're telling me what to do. That's like the closest I come to having no thoughts is in spin class. And it's the best. Sometimes I even get so zoned out that I'll miss a cue and I'm like the only person that's like still doing like the arm dips, and then I get embarrassed, but it's okay because it's dark and no one cares. Next. If you don't love your workout, like I said, you're always going to want to skip it. And it doesn't have to look like everyone else's. So maybe my workout, I like to listen to really hard rock right now, and I like to lift and be crazy. But if that's not how you like your workouts to be, that's okay. There's not like one size fits all, which I know I just kind of said, but if your workout means going to the gym and taking extra long and listening to a podcast and like not really breaking a sweat, but getting your workout in all the same, that's awesome. If your workout's just going for a long walk, also awesome. Like whatever feels best to you. If you don't like super high intensity, that's totally fine. And Five Below, the like retail store over by Best Buy in that area, I forget what it's called, but they have all kinds of workout equipment that's like $5 to $10. They have resistance bands. They have those little sliders that you can use for your feet. They have mini weights, kettlebells. So if you're looking, I think they have ankle weights and things too. Waist trainers, jump ropes, yoga blocks, yoga mats. They have so many things and it's so affordable. So if you want to work out at home, I would highly recommend going there and trying to pick out some different things that you could use. And there are so many Pilates workouts that just require the use of the resistance bands and the foot sliders. So check those out. I probably will get myself some just because occasionally the fancy strikes me to do a little at-home workout. Typically, no, because I like to get out of the house because I work from home so much. But I really do need to have some things there just in case, because whenever that happens, I have nothing at home, then I try and makeshift something and it just never ends well. So you do have options for equipment that's not very expensive, and there are also just body weight workouts that you can do from home on your carpet if you want to spend zero money. So next, I was looking at photos from last summer and I was in such good shape. I'm not too far off from where I am now as far as like fitness level. I think I probably was like a few pounds lighter because I was working out more, and I also was working out in the sun, so I was sweating more. So you just bloat less generally. But that was one of my tips, is work out in the sun. And I don't know, this is probably not like the healthiest tip, but I love to work out in the hottest point in the day. Again, be very hydrated, be cautious. Don't go on those like crazy hot days. But I love to end my work day around like 2-ish, and then sometimes do some work in the evenings whenever the sun has gone down. But I really just love to enjoy the summertime. So I would go to the gym, go to the track, do whatever at like 2 p.m., do my stairs, do my run. And I was doing a ton of stairs last summer. I really hadn't gotten into distance running until the fall, but I would go to a track, like any public track, but I use the Nixa Junior High. Again, if you're a crazy stalker, no, I don't. But if you go to any public track, I would do probably like 40 flights, which up and down, that's one flight, up and down, second flight, up and down, that's obviously three, but there's 3 sets of stairs. So I would do those. And I would do sets of 10. So 10 flights, take a little breather, 10 flights, take a breather. And that's it. Like I would do that and then sometimes go to the gym and sometimes that would be the entire workout. So I wasn't really doing crazy long workouts, but doing the cardio and the high intensity plus being in the heat and sweating really just worked well for me and for my body. So I was noticing myself getting a lot leaner because of that. And my diet wasn't all that different. Like I was still eating candy and I was still kind of doing what I wanted to do, but I was naturally just kind of less. I was desiring unhealthy foods less because whenever you're sweating and you're working out, you just want fruit and fresh food and water and lighter things. Like you don't really crave a soda after a workout. And I'm not a huge soda girl anyways, but you don't crave like a sugary coffee after a workout. So I think it kind of is just cyclical. The healthier you try to be without restricting, which I'll get to, hold on. But the more you're working on your fitness and drinking water and then working on your fitness and so on, you'll start to just crave healthier things naturally. Next, you have to build in time to work out versus trying to squeeze it in. And I've noticed that about myself. If I don't give any intention to my workouts for the week, they just won't happen. Like if I build my whole schedule and I'm like, where am I going to have dinner? Who am I going to hang out with? What am I doing? What am I shooting? It won't just get fit in because you never get to like 5 p.m. And well, sometimes I guess you do, but most of the time you don't get to 5 p.m. after a full day and you're like, well, I have to make dinner. We have no groceries here, but I guess I'll go to the gym. Sometimes I do that to avoid cooking, but most of the time, no. So I don't know. I just think that if you build time in, even if it's like twice a day or sorry, not twice a day, twice a week, you just don't make plans in the evening because you know you have to go to the gym. Or if you have kids, like coordinating with your husband or with someone to help watch your kids, or just take them on a walk. Like, I don't know. That part I can't speak to because I know how difficult it must be with kids, but plan ahead. Otherwise, you will not probably fit it in. Next, people assume that lifting weights is going to make you super bulky and jacked, and that's not the truth. It has taken me so long to put on muscle, and I have had to consistently try and increase my protein intake. And I've been lifting for like 3 or 4 years pretty consistently. And I don't get bigger, like I don't get bulkier until I ramp it up to like 4 days a week. So I know that I get on Instagram and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so jacked. I'm the Incredible Hulk. Like I joke around about it, but it has taken me a long time to put muscle on. And I'm not even that big in comparison to actual weightlifters, just in comparison to me, like not flexing versus after I've worked out and like you get a good pump in and you're feeling great. So don't be like, oh, I can't go lift weights because I don't look like a man. That's disgusting. And you don't have to worry about that because it's actually really hard to look like a man. And well, let me say something that I've been thinking about. I think it would be easier to be a man in the terms of fitness only because the ideal female body, allegedly, like the coveted female body on the media, like in the magazines and everything else, there's like a certain level of body fat on that body. Like you want to have curves and you want to have like a butt, you want to have boobs, but you don't want to have like yes, you want to have no stomach, like a flat stomach, toned legs, toned arms. But in order to have all those things, like you either have to have plastic surgery, you have to have it fake, or you have to just have fat on your body. Like you can't have both. And you naturally just lose everything that is like a fat deposit on you when you're more fit. And I can't fitness my way to like a curvier body. I mean, you can work out your butt and you can do lunges and squats and everything, but like, it's just sad because if I were a dude, I could just hit the gym all day, every day and look great because typically more muscle just equals like hotter dude. And at least by like the standards that the world and the media has set for everyone. But for a girl, it's like the more I work out, then like the flatter my chest gets. I'm like, oh, that's actually not what I wanted because I wasn't really working with a whole lot to begin with. So not to be not to be TMI again, but it's difficult because it's like a catch-22 because I love to work out and at this point my goals aren't necessarily aesthetic. They're more like fitness and mental health related. I do want to like maintain my current weight and all of those things, but it's just sad because I feel like you can't have the best of both worlds. So those of you who are blessed and maybe do have that, then what's it like to be God's favorite? Moving on. Ab workouts don't actually give you abs. I am fortunate to Well, it's a blessing and a curse because I store all of my weight like below my stomach. So my legs are the first to gain weight no matter what. And I lose weight on the top half first. Like my face, my stomach, my arms, like all that will thin out first and foremost before I ever even lose weight on my legs. So I always get insecure and think I have cankles or think that I have like short, stocky legs. And I'm most confident about like my upper body. So if people ever ask about ab workouts, then it's difficult because it's kind of just genetic the way that my body stores fat, because I could ask someone all day long for their leg workout, it's not going to give me long legs, like it's not going to make my legs look like their legs, and that's just unfortunate. But with that being said, a lot of times people assume that you can just crunch your way or like do this special Chloe Ting ab workout your way into abs, and that's unfortunately just not the case with any kind of definition. Like you can't really spot tone your body. You can't just do an arm workout and expect your arms to be super toned. You can gain muscle in those places, but unless you lose fat from your body, you won't be able to see the definition. So you have to incorporate either cardio or some kind of a caloric deficit in order to show that muscle. I'm not an expert though, so I'll go ahead and plug my girl Katie Eby. She has, I think her Instagram is Katie Eby Training, and I got a workout plan from her. She also does diet plans and everything. She's fantastic. There's also, I'm sure, a number of people that you can get plans from online, but she's very affordable if you're looking to have like a plan written for you. Also, most gyms can do that. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not an expert. I just know that's like a common misconception that people have, is that you can like spot tone something. You can spot grow muscle. Like you can only work out your legs and then only grow muscle on your legs, but they're not going to be toned unless you lose fat from your body overall. You also can't just lose fat from one place. Like you can't say like what burns belly fat. You don't just burn belly fat. You burn fat from your whole body. And based on whatever your genetics are, that will determine where you lose it first. So if you're working out and doing a lot of cardio and you just happen to be someone who loses weight from your legs first, then you'll get more toned legs prior to having a toned stomach or toned arms. I hope that makes sense. I would love to have Carrie Underwood legs. I would love to have them just be super toned and amazing, but that's like the last thing. Like I have to be very, very lean on top before I can start seeing the kind of leg definition that I want. So that's just something I've had to come to terms with, is that I'm not going to have that kind of physique, and that's okay. But that leads me to my next point, which is follow fitness accounts that look like you. So for the longest time, I was following these girls who looked like Kendall Jenner and that Kayla Itsines or whatever her name is, girl that is like tall and lean. She's like 5'9", 100 pounds. And those girls just don't look like me, and they never will. I don't have that kind of like long limbed, tall, thin build. I am 5'3", and I tend to be more like muscular. And it will only serve to make you insecure if you're looking at body types that don't look like yours. And you could be the hardest worker. You could commit to your diet. You could do everything 100%, but your body is not going to change. No workout will make you grow taller. No workout will make your legs longer. It's not going to recomposition the fat deposits on your body the way they naturally are. So you can look your best for you, but you cannot look someone else's best. And that was really hard for me because I would have all these Fitspo photos of women that just did not resemble my body type in the slightest. And you always just end up disappointed. So whenever I shifted, and I was like, well, what's my best? Like what will look the best for me? And that's probably like thicker thighs, maybe toned glutes, toned stomach, and toned arms. That's more realistic for me than like long, skinny legs, long arms. Like that's just not how I'm going to look. And that's unfortunate. If I were to compare myself to that all the time, I would be very disappointed. But the girls that I follow now on Instagram, on Pinterest, on TikTok, all the fitness accounts I follow are girls that are shorter, that have more muscular builds, that like to work out like me, and that look more attainable to what I can see myself wanting to look like. So that just yields a lot more positivity in my mental, like the way I speak to myself and the goals that I have. So I would really encourage you to look at who you follow very carefully. And even if you love their account and you love their pages, if it's not someone that's making you feel confident and assured, then it's probably not worth following them. You can still consume their workouts and their content in that way, but if you're constantly striving for something that's just physically not possible for you, then unfollow them. It's that simple. Next, let's talk about food. So I don't really follow a diet. I don't know if you know, but I try and follow like this 80-20 rule, which is basically like 80% of the foods that you eat are healthy and then 20% is whatever you want. And that's not a science. That's not like, okay, this exact number of meals per week will be healthy and this exact number of meals per week will be unhealthy. It's basically just saying like the majority of the time, choose the healthy option, but whenever you have the chance to not, then don't. So during the week, Austin and I eat pretty healthy. Like we have a rotation of like chicken, pork chops, steak. We eat a lot of salmon, obviously, and maybe something else. Like maybe we'll do burgers. And with it, we'll have a vegetable like carrots, asparagus. We'll have a salad. We do potatoes. Sometimes we do rice. Our rice cooker, we have gotten our money's worth 18 times over. We have rice like every single night, but they're pretty boring, bland, healthy meals, which one are easier to cook because there's like 3 ingredients and 3 steps. But that means during the weekends, like we can go and do whatever we want. We can have sushi. We can get appetizers. We can do like whatever we feel like doing. And I don't feel bad about it because we've been eating healthy all week. So it's kind of like just making the healthy choices when it doesn't really matter. So whenever the opportunity comes up to go to an event or go eat with my friends or get ice cream or do something else, I really don't think twice about it because most of my choices have been healthy. Like the breakfast, well, I don't really eat breakfast, but if I have lunch or have snacks, like everything I keep in the house is fairly healthy. And that's another important thing that I wanted to note is that you have to keep healthy food in the house, but you also have to keep good snacks in the house that are actually delicious. Because if you are home and you eat healthy all day and then you're craving like something chocolate or something sweet and you have nothing in the house, you're 1,000 times more likely, or at least I am, maybe you guys are better than me, but you're 1,000 times more likely to go drive to Brahms and get like a giant black tuxedo sundae, which are my favorite. But I think for me, if I keep healthy desserts, like I always have like frozen yogurt bars or the frozen fruit pops, or there's like a whole brand called Skinny Cow, which I think is a little bit like offensive, but Skinny Cow, there's all kinds of things. All these actually has surprisingly good frozen healthy desserts. So I always keep those. And then I will eat one or two of the little treats. And then I'm not tempted to go somewhere else and buy something massive. So if you're really trying to stick to a healthy eating plan, be realistic with yourself. Don't only buy kale chips and, egg whites and skim milk, coffee creamer, and things that you don't actually enjoy, because then you're just going to go splurge somewhere else. So that's why I really feel strongly about not restricting foods, because every time I've been in a quote diet season or I've been trying to eat healthier by way of cutting things out, I always end up breaking it because I'm just not enjoying it and I'm craving things so much more that I don't know, you just feel that sense of like, I want what I can't have, and you're just more likely to not stick to it. So set yourself up for success, not failure, and be realistic. You're 1,000% more likely to stick to a diet that actually allows you to get your coffees and have dessert than you are just to cut everything out all the time. So, and crash dieting never works. There's never like, I mean, I guess unless you take Ozempic, but that's a whole other topic. I am personally not a fan for, I don't know. I'm just curious as to what the effects will be. I know that a lot of people around me have taken it and have had amazing success and they loved it and it's made them very happy. And I think that's incredible. I just worry about the long-term effects because it's been around for not that long for the purpose of weight loss. Again, I'm not a doctor or a scientist or a pharmacist, or I don't actually know anything. It makes me scratch my head a little bit because it seems too good to be true. And we know what they say about things that seem too good to be true. So, next, you actually do need protein. Crazy, I know. That was my goal. If you remember a couple of months ago or episodes ago, I had the novel idea of actually incorporating protein into my diet. And it's simple. Like sometimes we'll have a protein coffee rather than a regular coffee, or I'll have protein pancakes, which they sell at Sam's. And sometimes just like a rice cake with some peanut butter on it, just like little stuff. It's not crazy. Or turkey. You ever wrap turkey around a string cheese? That is amazing. Just small little things. Like these are not crazy snacks, but just incorporating protein into my diet, it just makes you feel so much better and stronger and more energized, and you get through your day better. And I used to, of course, be caffeine until dinner, which is fine because I have a massive dinner. So I definitely get all of like my nutritional needs met. But by the end of it, you're just dragging and like you're not in a good mood. And I've been trying to balance that out a little bit better. So wouldn't you know it, you actually do feel better if you have more sustainable food and energy sources. Next, I have done fasting before, and this is a little bit touchy just because whenever I was at my thinnest, I was doing intermittent fasting, but I would do extended windows and I called it fasting, but it did border on like starvation. So I don't want to encourage that. It doesn't work for me in the sense that I take things too far and I will overdo it. So if I commit to intermittent fasting, then not only will I be incredibly hard on myself if I ever like if I'm intermittent fasting and I have a breakfast meeting outside of my window, it would have sent me into a spiral, because then I would have said like, well, what's the like lowest calorie thing in the menu? What can I eat? And if I don't fast today, then I have to do it tomorrow. And like it would really throw me for a loop. Also, I would see results, or I would start to see, some progress from, say, like an 8-hour eating window and then a fasting window for the other 16. And then I would say, well, what if I do more? Like, what if I fast for, you know, 20 hours, then I only eat for 4 hours? And I just take things too far. So I know myself well enough to know that that's not a viable option for me. So especially like on a lighter note, I do like to drink sugary coffees. So you can't fast if you have sugary coffees in the morning. So what I do is not fasting. If I am hungry, I will eat during the day. I just typically don't get hungry for breakfast or lunch. I get hungry for like an afternoon snack and then a big giant dinner. So I'm not advocating for fasting. I have done it before and it does work because you just have less calories or fewer calories. But in some people, it works amazing for if they have, I guess, better self-control than me, or maybe have too much self-control. I don't really know, but it doesn't work for me, but I am aware of that. So I don't try that anymore, but do that at your own risk. Next, find things to do that don't revolve around food. And this is what I mean, like socially. So if you only know how to hang out with friends when you're going to dinner or you're going to get snacks or you're going to do something, then you're going to be more tempted to eat unhealthy because there's just fewer healthy options out in the world than there are if you make food for yourself. And also it's more expensive. So it's kind of a catch-22 if you're looking to save money and save on your splurges. But it's nicer now that the weather is nicer because you can go on walks, you can hang out outside, you can have your friend bring their hammocks over to your house. You guys can get a little picnic blanket, go to the park. You can do so many different things. Then you could go to the little hiking trails around the area at Valley Water Mill Pond or at Busick, or there's a few down in Branson. But there's so many more things that you can do to hang out with your friends that don't really involve food. So that can be good not only for the sake of getting outside, but for the sake of saving money and everything else, like I said. So those are my overall fitness tips. I don't want to get too in-depth into anything because I don't know enough to do that, but I'm happy to talk to anyone about any questions that you have. Just know I don't know what I'm talking about. I have learned all of these things through just trial and error and finding out what works for me. And again, I tried not to make this triggering in any way or difficult to listen to for people who have struggled like I have in the past with maybe overly restricting or overly working out. So I do apologize for that. I probably shouldn't have said that early in the episode, but I'll put on the disclaimer. Those are my fitness tips. Just everything in moderation. Everything is balanced. I saw a reel that said it took me 20 years to figure out that you can contribute to pretty much any meeting just by saying it's all about finding that balance. And you know what? It's true because it is always about finding that balance. And that is the same thing for fitness. So do with that what you will. Also, I want to note, I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to do powerlifting. Whenever I ran track in junior high, I got injured and tore my calf muscle, and I had to go to Health Tracks for therapy. And my trainer there that was helping me with rehab was actually a prior powerlifting coach. And he was like, hey, you've got the build to be a gymnast, but you're kind of too old to get into it. And I said, thank you for that. That's awesome. That's what every little girl wants to hear. He said, but you would probably be great at lifting because you're really strong and like compact. I said, yes, compact. That is exactly what I've always wanted to be described as. So turns out he was right. We trained for a little bit and then I did a couple powerlifting competitions, got first place. Doesn't really count for a lot because there's not a lot of 15-year-old girls that do powerlifting competitions. But for a while I did have some national records in powerlifting. So I have to check and see if those are still up because that would have been like, 10 years ago. But yeah, 10 years ago I set some national records as far as weightlifting. So that is bench, squat, deadlift, and like overall. So I was kind of killing it. In case you guys were wondering, that's a fun fact about me. That's one of the reasons that I always win 2 truths and a lie is because I have so many fun things. Usually I'll say some combination of like, I have powerlifting, national records. I graduated college at 19. I was hit by a car. I used to work for the DEA as an undercover buyer. What else? Yeah, those are my main truths. Those are all true, by the way. If you want some stories, let me know. I'll hook you guys up. But that's all I have to say for now. This was a lighter episode. It was super fun. Let me know if you guys have any other topics that you want. But everyone who responded to the last one, the last little poll that I did was very helpful as far as giving me some ideas. And again, we'll have a guest next week. So show her some love, make her feel very welcome. You guys have been so amazing at receiving guests. I wasn't really sure how that would be, welcomed, but It's been great. And I'm just having the most fun doing this podcast. And I love everyone who listens. I love everyone who reaches out. And I'm just very thankful for the ability to get to do this every week. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. And I will see you next week. Bye.